Welcome to the Prophecy Club. I've got Lindsey Williams on the phone with me today. He served as a missionary on the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline for some 3 years. He became friends with some of the elite that ruled the world, and occasionally he comes out with DVDs telling what their plans are. As a matter of fact, he's got a new DVD out that we are offering called A Panic is Planned, and the topics are how long before the panic, the elite agenda update, stock market expectations, Bitcoin, what my elite says, Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, an insider tells the true financial news, more panic up, and another health miracle. So, Lindsey Williams, welcome back to the Prophecy Club, brother.
Stan, what a privilege to be with you today. It has been at least 4 years, maybe longer, since I had the opportunity to be on the Prophecy Club. Thank you for letting me be back.
Oh, well, it's a privilege having you back, brother. And I hope your health is strong enough to where you can come back again more often. I know this is a real sacrifice for you to come on, so thank you very much.
Well, I had to break my silence, Stan. I really had no choice. You know, you finally get to the place that your heart goes out to people when they're floundering around out there, not having the slightest idea of what's going on. They're wondering, they're at their wits' end, and I finally said, I know what's going to happen. I know what the elite's agenda is. And I said, I have no choice. I've got to get out there and tell people. So, since it's been so long since I've had an opportunity to be with you, let me give some brief background, because I'm sure there are many, many listeners that will not remember 4 years back when I was with you last. By the providence of God, I had the opportunity to be asked and invited to be the chaplain to the elite of the world. This was back 39 years ago during the construction phase of the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline. And for 3 years' time, I lived with the people whom you only hear about and never get an opportunity to know. It could have never happened any other way. But what I heard and saw and the things I lived during those 3 years changed my life. I sat across the dinner table from them. I was in their board meetings. I heard what they were saying. I heard men talk about controlling nations and controlling people and manipulating currencies. And I couldn't believe I was hearing what I was hearing. I said, people can't exist like this. Let me say as emphatically as I possibly can, there positively is a group of people on the face of the earth who control the world. I know. I lived with them for 3 years' time. I'll never forget one day, Mr. Ken Fromm. I'll use his name now because he was one of them, and 4 years ago he passed away. I was in the vehicle there at Prudhoe upon the big oil field in northern Alaska. And we were riding in the vehicle one day. We came across a group of men working on the side of the road. They were either Greenpeace or Sierra Club. I don't know exactly which. And I looked over at Ken, and I said, Ken, these people are literally costing you millions of dollars extra in building this pipeline. I said, doesn't it bother you? And he looked back at me with a big smile on his face, and he said, Chaplain, they don't bother us at all. And I said, after all the millions they're costing you? He said, you see, Chaplain, we give millions of dollars to Greenpeace every year. He said, Atlantic Richfield gives millions of dollars to the Sierra Club every year. He said, these people don't do anything except what we allow them to do. And he said, you know, it looks good for us, for them to be up here, because it makes people think that we really care. And he said, we do. We care about the ecology. But he said, they don't do anything except what we allow them to do. And he said, Chaplain, it's the same thing with the Democrats and the Republicans. He said, we give millions of dollars to the Democratic Party. We give millions of dollars to the Republican Party. It really doesn't matter with us which president gets in. He said, we still get our way either way. Well, they did up until the election of 2016 and the inauguration of 2017, and now we're into 2018. Up until that time, they did. They got their way with every single president, and then he said something that it still resounds in my ears until yet. He said, Chaplain, the congressman. He said, almost, he didn't say 100%, but he said almost every person in Congress has their price, and he said, we know what their price is. So he said, they don't do anything except what we are willing for them to do and want them to do. I never forget one night, I'd been rubbing shoulders with these people all day long. I went back to my dorm room over at Pump Station 1, and I lay down on the bed and looked up at the ceiling, and I literally cried out to God, and I said, oh God, how can there be such dastardly people on the face of this earth who by intention control nations, manipulate people and currencies? And I said, how can they possibly exist? Now, keep in mind that prior to my experience of living with these people for 3 years, I had been a pastor for 12 years myself of the same church. I was brought up in a wonderful Christian home with godly parents. And to be thrown into the midst of such evil people as the elite, I could hardly believe what I was seeing and what I heard. During those 3 years, I had the privilege of making rather close friends with two of those people. And I've kept in touch with them for 39 years and have been able to learn things that nobody else knew. And every time that the elite would tell me something, I would tell the world. And as a result, people said, you're a prophet. And I said, no, I'm not. I just happen to know the people that are doing it, because nothing ever happens by chance. Exactly nothing. Government, finances, stock market, I care not what it is. Even foreign countries, nothing ever happens by chance. It always happens by design plan. And these people know in advance what they're going to do, and one of their, should I say, facets of life, one of the things that they always do is they will always tell people what they're going to do prior to them doing it. And if you know how to listen to what they're saying, you'll be able to know in advance what the elite are planning on doing. I call them the elite. Now, I'd like to come down, if I may, at this point to 2018. Skip over those 39 years and all of the predictions they made and how they came to pass just exactly like they said it. They're human beings. They don't always get their way, but most of the time they do. So I'll say that every now and then they made a mistake, but very few. But they have really made a big one now. Prior to the election of 2016, I had been told everything that was going to happen. In fact, I told the world exactly what was going to happen, and I myself was preparing myself and had told my friends to prepare for the inevitable, because they had said that it positively was an impossibility for Donald Trump to win the election. They said it can't happen. I've been told this prior to the election. He said it can't happen. He said everything is in our favor. He said Soros, and he did say this. He said Soros has built the voting machines. He didn't say that they were rigged. They wouldn't go quite that far over the telephone or on an email, but he said Soros built the machines. And then, of course, just recently, with all the indictments that have been made, you and I are quite aware of the fact that they were manipulating everything imaginable. And so they said it is a total impossibility. It cannot happen. And they said, we are ready to bring in our new world order in its entirety. They were right on the verge. They had everything planned. They knew just how to do it. Within 3 to 4 months, they had planned a financial, I'm not going to call it a 1929. I'm not going to use the word bubble. They had planned within 3 to 4 months after the election a financial something, disaster, fiasco or something that would give them the opportunity to bring under control exactly what they wanted to be able to bring, do everything they wanted to do, and be very glad that things turned out the way they did, because if they had not, you and I today would be in the midst of one of the greatest financial disasters. We've never seen anything like what they had planned, and I was told all about it, but something happened. I'll never forget it. The election took place. Trump finally admitted that he had won, and within a few hours after he announced that he had won the election, I received an email. Now, I hope you have pencil and paper today, because some of the things you're going to hear, you go back and put it all together. The puzzle will fit perfectly for you. And within a few hours after that election, I received an email from my elite friend, and it said two things, two words. It stood out like a light. This is all he had to say, and I could read everything in between the lines. It said, God intervened. That's it. That's all he had to say. The elite don't want to encounter God, but sometimes they can't help themselves. And when Donald Trump was elected, the course of history was altered. I hope you caught those words. Literally the course of history. It set the New World Order back. In my estimation, my elite friend didn't give the dates, but in my estimation from what I hear from them, it set the New World Order back somewhere between 20 and 25 years when Donald Trump was elected President of the United States of America. And the plans that they had within 3 to 4 months after the election had to be completely altered. And after I received that email, it was weeks, and I could get no reply out of my elite friend whatsoever. Nothing. He would say thing. Wouldn't answer emails, wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't have a thing in the world to do with me. And a number of weeks later, I had a contact. Finally, I said, oh, so good. But what I heard was not necessarily what I wanted to hear. He gave me the new agenda. You see, the elite had to completely alter their plans from beginning to end, and they set a new agenda for all of the future events that they wanted to do, and they had to alter so many things. For instance, let me give you one that you'll very readily recognize. You remember that President Bush was convinced that the banks of the world and the elite of the world had to have money. And he initiated quantitative easing 1, then quantitative easing 2, and literally gave the elite and the bankers of the world billions and billions of dollars. It never came down to the average person on the street. It was always just what the elite got. And you know that you did not receive the benefits from it. Well, when Donald Trump was elected, he had promised to drain the swamp. He had made it very plain, and they didn't have anything to worry about because they knew he was not going to become president. It was a given. It could not happen. So when he was elected, and it finally was admitted that he did win, the elite were forced into changing their agenda, and they knew that Donald Trump would not bail them out if they had another financial collapse or a crash or even a big bubble burst. So I'm going to make a statement here that you will remember for the next 7 years, and you'll watch it happen time after time, and you'll probably say I'm a prophet, but no, I'm not. It was just what was given to me. As long as Donald Trump is in office, there will not be a financial crash. The elite can't afford it. Do you realize how many billions and billions of dollars the elite have in the stock market and in paper themselves, even though they've got their gold and silver to back up on? They've got all of this in paper, And they cannot allow a financial crash during the administration of Donald Trump because he will not initiate another quantitative easing and bail them out. And they know that he would let them lose everything they've got. So as a result, they have an agenda now whereby they are not going to allow any big bubble burst. Oh, yes, I know on Friday we had a stock market that went down 1,100 points, but so what? When it had gone up 6,000 points in 1 year, 1,100 points was nothing in the world but a simple correction for a short period of time, and right back up it's going to go again. So when I was given their new agenda, I felt that I must tell the facts. And I did. I produced about 8 months ago a DVD, and I gave what they were going to do. When I did that DVD, I was rather frightened. The reason I was not because of any fear. They'd given me the information. They didn't mind me giving it out. But everybody was saying the exact opposite of what I was told. But I dared to stick my neck out. And one person said to me, "Why do you do this? It might not happen this way." I said, "I must tell the truth, the facts, exactly as my elite have given it to me." So I predicted that the following would happen in the next year's time. In my DVD back then, 8 months ago.
Entitled, The Elite, The New Plan.
I said, first of all, the stock market is going to panic up. In fact, I think I produced a DVD back in those days, and I said, the stock market is going to panic up. Who in this world would have ever gone along with that a year ago? Everybody was saying it's going down. They said after Donald Trump is elected, stock market's going to crash. Stock market's going down drastically. Economy is going to suffer horribly. The next day after the election, the stock market went up. And it went up 6,000 points in the past year. And not only that, but according to what I'm told by the elite, it's going to go up to 30,000. It's going to go to 40,000. And if Donald Trump stays in office for another term after this, that would mean 7 more years, you could very well see the elite take the stock market to 50,000. This is not what Lindsey Williams is saying. This is what I was told. So, as a result, where are we? I said, okay, this is what they've told me. The stock market is going up and up and up. I said, we're going to have the most unusual of times. But in a few moments, when you find out how they're going to do it, you can readily understand exactly what I'm saying whenever I say that the elite have intentions of taking advantage of every opportunity that Donald Trump is giving them. Now, Donald Trump is not one of them. They told me long time before the election that this man was not one of them, had never been one of them, and of course he wasn't supposed to have gotten in office. And they said we can't manipulate him. This is the first president that they haven't been able to manipulate in my lifetime. And so they said, okay, the stock market is going to panic up. So I said the stock market is going to panic up 30, 40,000. Every newsletter writer out there 8 months ago was saying the exact opposite. I felt like a lone wolf almost. I didn't know. Well, anyway, I said times are going to be very prosperous. It's going to be unusual. And I said gold and silver prices are going to fluctuate gradually. But I said there'll be very, very little change. And everybody thought I was crazy because they were all saying 3,000, 4,000 for gold. And I said, no. As long as Donald Trump is in office, the elite have their agenda. And I said, not only that, you'll know it. Those of you who happen to have gotten my DVD back in those days, you can relate to it. You heard me say it. It was right on the DVD. I said the American dollar is going to remain the reserve currency of the world. And I said not only that, but it will remain the petrodollar. And everybody, not one person in the world, not even the best of the newsletter writers, was saying that 8 or 9 months ago. They were all saying that the dollar is going to give in to the one, and there's going to be nothing in the world but problems for the dollar. And I said, no, there's not. I said, you don't realize the elite have changed their agenda. It's not what it was 6 months ago. They have to completely revise what they plan to do. Then I went on to make a few other ones. I said, number one, we're not going to have any riots. Everybody thought I was crazy then, and I did too. But the elite, it's not to their advantage to have riots under Donald Trump. Well, you've noticed it. It's happened exactly like they told me it would over the past 8 or 9 months, less and less riots all the time. And then I said something about the cryptocurrencies back in those days. And I don't know that predicted, according to what my elite friend said, that the stock market was going to go up and up, panic up. But I said, your cryptocurrencies are going to be the same. But I said, folks, you've got to watch out. I said, the elite know where the top is. Well, they did. The elite knew where the top was prior to last Friday when it went down 1,100 points. They know where the bottom is. So now they'll buy. And what a buying opportunity they've got. Profit taking galore after that drop on Friday. But they knew. The average person can't afford to do that because they have not the slightest idea where the top is and where the bottom is. But the elite know exactly where it is. So you can't take those chances unless my elite friend happens to tell me and I can get the information out to you in time. But you can't take chances with those things like the elite can. So be very, very cautious. But there was one man, I'll never forget him. It was so interesting. About 2 or 3 years ago, I guess it was, he called me on the phone number. Don't know how he got my phone number because if everyone that wanted my phone number had it, I wouldn't sleep a day or night. He's been in touch with me. He's a businessman, quite well-to-do. He manages many, many farms all over the country. And he said, Chaplain, all of my friends in the farming business, they're all buckling, they're all getting in their bunkers, so to speak. They're getting ready for the worst of times. Now, he said, what's really going to happen? Well, I told him. And he dared to take my elite friend at their word. And he went and bought a piece of equipment worth $1 million. He bought some other things. He said he was going to hire, I think, something like 30 new people. And he said, I'm getting in business and taking advantage of what the elite are going to do over these years that Donald Trump is in office. Well, I was talking to him the other day. He said, Chaplain, I want to thank you. He said, you really made me a lot of money this past year. He said, I took your elite friend at their word. He said, I invested. And he said, now, there's a waiting list, months and months and months for that equipment. And he said, the interest has gone up. He said, literally, I came out so wonderful because of just listening to what your elite friend had to say. Nothing happens by chance. It's all by design plan. And they know exactly what they're going to do during the entire time that Donald Trump is in office. And I will try my best as I find out what their plans are from time to time to warn you and tell you what's happening. I need to go into just how they're going to do all of this in intricate detail because you don't want to be left wondering what's going to happen. But if you don't know the elite's agenda and what their plans are for these next, well, let's see, hopefully 7 years, then you're going to be left out in the cold. So, my heart so goes out to my senior citizens. I'm not a young guy anymore, and I look around at senior citizens, and they're scrambling for everything they're worth to make it on Social Security, and the pensions that don't meet up to what they thought they would years ago. And I feel so sorry for them. And yet, on the other hand, if only I could help them understand the agenda of the elite and get in touch with the right people to help them, they could bolster up that retirement, that Social Security that's not meeting their needs. There is a way that it could be taken care of in such a manner. But if you don't know the agenda, you can't do it. I'm quite sure that you heard the State of the Union message. And it points out very definitely that these things have taken place exactly as the elite said they were going to. Since the election, there have been created 2.4 million new jobs, including 200,000 new jobs in manufacturing. After years of wage stagnation, we're finally seeing rising wages. Unemployment claims have hit a 45-year low. I'm just going over some of the things that President Trump said in his State of the Union message. He said African-American unemployment stands at the lowest rate ever recorded in American history. Hispanic Americans' unemployment has also reached the lowest level in history. Small business confidence is up at an all-time high. And on we could go as to what has happened. And he said American people, provided what's happening with them today, the biggest tax cut and reform in American history has just taken place. And the typical family of four making $75,000 will see that tax bill reduced by $2,000. You know, on we could go. The elite are taking advantage of Donald Trump, but I find that the average person that I know, my friends, are not taking advantage of the agenda of the elite because they don't know what it is. I've been reading all these newsletters lately. The newsletters are still saying the same thing they said a year ago. They can't see the fact that the agenda has changed. There are one or two that do. I won't name any names, but one or two have really come around to the fact now that there must be something out there, and somehow they've gotten in touch maybe with one of their elite friends and found out that the agenda has changed. And their newsletters are written a little bit different today, but I would say no more than two that I know of all of the prognosticators and geopolitical newsletters. I would say that not over two of them have changed that tune from what they were saying back at the time of the election in 2016 and the inauguration in 2017. We've gone through 2018, and they're still singing the same tune, but the elite have said things are going to be different. Again, I ask you to have those pencils and paper in handy, because when we come to the, in a few moments, when we come to another segment, I will tell you how the elite are going to make their money now. This is brand new. This is something that you have heard nowhere. You'll watch it take place over these next few years. But as for right now, where will the elite make their money now that Donald Trump is in office? They have had to change their agenda. They positively cannot allow a financial crash. Oh, yes, the stock market may vary up and down some. There will not be a great bubble burst. There will not be bank closings. There will not be a financial crash as long as Donald Trump is in office, because the elite have too much to lose. He won't bail them out with all the quantitative easing. So where will they make their money? You can be assured of one thing. They are not going to not do something. They are going to make their finances, make their money some way, and I'd like to give you exactly how they're going to do it. And when I describe it, you are going to be utterly amazed. Now, keep in mind, I made this DVD about Christmas time. It only came out 3 weeks ago. Nobody can say that it happened after the fact. And when you see it taking place over these next few years, you are going to be utterly dumbfounded.
If you would like to get Lindsey's newest DVD called A Panic Is Planned, it's available at prophecyclub.com. Topics are: how long before the panic, elite agenda update, stock market expectations, Bitcoin, what the elite says, Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, an insider tells the true financial news, more Panic Up, and another health miracle. That's at prophecyclub.com. And there's some past DVDs from Lindsey Williams there also. And remember, this is a program on Bible prophecy, and comments should not be construed as financial advice in any way. This information is just for entertainment purposes. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your gifts of support. And remember, we do need your gifts of support. God bless.